The election results are in. It looks like Joe Lopinto will continue to lead the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. Meanwhile, the Slidell Mayor's race is in a runoff. Welcome to the WDSU Hot Seat. Tonight, we are taking a closer look at the election results with political analyst Dr. Ed Chervenak. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, of course, one of the most hotly contested races this election was the race for Jefferson Parish Sheriff. So Joe Lopinto won, beating out John Fortunato. But we knew that this was going to be a close one going into this. Were you surprised?
Well, we knew it was going to be a close race, that we have done a couple of polls on this race, one in October and then one in early March, and we showed that John Fortunato was well ahead. In the early March poll, he was up by 16 points. And then we conducted a third poll in late March, and where we found Joe Lopinto had basically made up that deficit and in fact had gone ahead. And so we had showed him up by 3 percentage points right before the election. And so we knew he had momentum. And so, yes, we did expect a close race. But it was surprising the fact that he was able to overcome this huge deficit in a very short period of time. And so I think that's the most surprising factor.
What do you think helped contribute to that?
Well, certainly Joe Lopinto had the political muscle behind him. He had Newell Norman. He had the endorsement of Cynthia Lee Sheng. That he had money as well. He was easily able to outraise John Fortunato. But I think the most compelling moment of the election was during the hot seat debate when John Fortunato took a position on Mike Yenny that was very unpopular in the parish. Mike Yenny continues to be radioactive, continues to be toxic. Our poll showed that only 29% of Jefferson Parish residents approved of the job he was doing, so that meant he was underwater. In job approval, haven't seen any numbers on his favorables, but I'm sure his favorable numbers are underwater as well. And I think that really led to this kind of seismic shift in the electorate, particularly among middle-aged people who are parents, who have children. I think that they were just kind of turned off by Fortunato's position on Mike Yenny, and that's something he wasn't able to recover from.
So I was actually at Fortunato's campaign the other night, and I had asked that question if they felt that this had impacted their campaign in any way, and they said they hoped it didn't, because they said what Fortunato was trying to do was just bring unity within the parish, but it seems like it may have had an impact.
You know, it certainly showed in our numbers that you know, we saw a shift among men. We saw increasing support for Lopinto among women. As I mentioned, the middle-aged, the age 35 to 54, the majority were supportive of Fortunato in the early polls, and in the late March poll, the majority were in support of Lopinto. So that told us that this had a real effect. And, you know, so it just seems like that was kind of the defining moment. I can't look to any other part of the campaign. In fact, a number of people came up to me and said, you know, how could he say that? Or, you know, what a foot in the mouth type of moment that was. And so that's, I think, what everyone just kind of paid attention to that, and just that's what really swung the election.
And now, Joe Lopinto also had a lot of endorsements from some pretty high-profile politicians.
Yes.
Do you think that helped him?
Absolutely.
Especially in the beginning, so many people said, who is Joe Lopinto? So that maybe helped him get
Absolutely.
some attention.
John Fortunato enjoyed significant advantage in name recognition. He has been on the force for decades. He was the face of the Jefferson Parish police force for 25 years. So he obviously had name recognition, and Joe Lopinto had just been recently appointed to the position by Newell Norman, and so he did lack that name recognition. And so, given that, the political establishment did help him raise his profile, raise money for him, you know, get out there, convince their people that they needed to get behind Joe Lopinto's campaign. So obviously that really helped.
And let's talk about campaign finances, because Joe Lopinto raised about $1.2 million compared to John Fortunato's about $500,000.
Right.
So was that a significant difference? Did that have an impact and play a role as well?
It's always nice to have money. It's easier, you know, to run a campaign when you have lots of money. You can run more ads, you can buy more signs, you can, you know, pay for the pizza to feed the volunteers who are out there canvassing the neighborhoods. But just because you have more money doesn't mean you're guaranteed victory. We saw in the New Orleans mayoral race, Desiree Charbonnet easily outraised LaToya Cantrell, and she ended up losing by 20 percentage points. So more money does not equate into victory. it helps and it makes it easier to get over the finish line, but you have to spend that money wisely and you have to spend that money strategically.
And Dr. Chervenak, something I think is really interesting, I want to note something that you reported actually, is how Fortunato actually won the West Bank
Yes.
of Jefferson Parish and Lopinto won the East Bank. So this shows it's pretty divided.
Yes, it was interesting to see that the West Bank and the East Bank are basically mirror images of each other in terms of vote preference in the sheriff. 61% of East Bank voters went with Lopinto, and 61% of West Bank voters went with Fortunato. And the difference for Lopinto was that turnout was just higher on the East Bank. The East Bank is more kind of racially homogenous, more Republican, but more prosperous, so you would expect higher turnout there. West Bank is much more demographically diverse, much more Democratic, and so turnout's going to be a bit lower, and I think that's what really made the difference. It does show that there's a divide in the parish, and I haven't seen any numbers in other elections to see if that divide exists there as well, but it certainly showed itself in last night's election.
Do you think moving forward, Joe Lopinto will have to maybe put in just a little work to reunite? I'm sure it's tough for JPSO when you have, two well-known people within the department facing off like that.
That's true, but the question was settled last night. I'm sure Joe Lopinto had faced lots of criticism about being coronated by Newell Norman and being appointed and not being elected by the people. But last night he was elected by the people, so now he is legitimately has the authority to be Jefferson Parish Sheriff, and so that'll convince people's minds that he's the sheriff, and we're just going to have to move forward from here.
Okay, now it wasn't just people in Jefferson Parish that went to the polls. Here in Orleans Parish as well, residents had the chance to vote on the House District 93 seat that was vacated by Helena Moreno. So that is a very big race as well because it covers a pretty big area.
Very diverse district. It covers like 10 different wards in the city and includes the Superdome, and I think it includes parts of the Warehouse District as well as some neighborhoods. And so it is an important district. And Royce Duplessis won it going away. It wasn't even a close contest. He won, I think, 9 out of the 10 wards that are in that district. And he was the candidate to beat. Helena Moreno did endorse him. Again, he had the political muscle behind him. He certainly had the name. Duplessis' name is a familiar name in New Orleans politics, and so that always helps, having that name recognition. And he also had the experience, he had the background that he could basically articulate to voters and say, look, I have this, I've sat on the City Planning Commission, and so I know what the needs of neighborhoods are. And so he had a very good resume, good name, good backing, and so a candidate like that is very difficult to beat.
And I'm sure that experience moving forward will prove to be helpful when you move into a position like this.
Well, you hope so, but remember, he's just going to be one of 105. And so, and as a Democrat in a majority Republican legislature, it's very difficult. It's a hostile environment for Democrats. And it's also a hostile environment for New Orleans, the New Orleans delegation as well. They're pretty much outnumbered, but at least he can be a spokesperson for his district.
And that district, as we mentioned, encompasses a lot of areas, including the French Quarter, the CBD, the Superdome as well. So there does come a lot of responsibility with this district.
Yes, absolutely. You're going to have diverse interests. You're going to have probably a lot of competing interests in that district. And so he's going to have to be able to balance all those various competing interests in that district.
Okay, now let's talk about the Kenner mayor's race. So incumbent Ben Zahn had an easy victory last night with 80% of the vote. So this race really went as expected.
Yes, it was expected that he was going to win. And when you're kind of an interim and then you win big like that, that just basically puts the stamp of approval on your leadership. So people must be happy with Ben Zahn, and overwhelmingly gave him the mayoral seat.
When we look at elections where we expect a candidate to run away with it, does that ever have an impact on voter turnout when people just think, he's a...
Yeah, it can. That people think, well, he's going to win or she's going to win, and so there's no sense in me going to vote. And people do make that calculation, that I'm just one vote and I'm not going to really make a difference. He or she's going to win, so that does have a tendency to dampen turnout. It's those competitive races when though it's real close, it's within 1 or 2 or 3 percentage points, that's what gets people's juices flowing, and that's what gets people to the polls.
Well, speaking of one of those competitive races, so the Slidell Mayor's race is the one race that isn't decided yet over on the North Shore. So Kevin Davis and Greg Cromer are headed in for a runoff. Davis had 36% of the vote to Cromer's 24%. So this was close. I mean, there were two other candidates in that field as well.
Yes. If you're Kevin Davis, I think, you know, his campaign has to be a bit disappointed that he is a very well-known name there. He was former parish president, so, you know, very recognizable, but he was held under 40% by three other candidates. And so he has his work cut out for him. It'll be interesting to see who the two bottom candidates will decide to endorse. So I can imagine that today both the Smith campaign and the Cromer campaign are making calls to these other two individuals seeking their support.
And why is that support so important? It's not just because, you know, you have the endorsement of someone else. You're hoping to try and grab their voters.
Absolutely. You're trying to convince them to tell their voters go support, you know, I'm sorry, Kevin Davis. And so, or you know, Mr. Cromer. So you know, this is where they're going to start making deals in terms of, you know, if you give me this, I think I can deliver my voters to you. And so we'll have to see who's making the deals.
And, you know, also, I mean, what do you think these candidates need to do, if anything, differently when you go into a runoff versus the regular election? How does that change?
Well, you know, now it's just mano a mano, one-on-one. You know, you don't have to worry about other candidates. And so you can focus on your opposition. You know, you certainly are going to probably bring out some of their flaws and their frailties and try and promote, you know, things that you have done. You know, and when you're running for mayor, it's more about nuts and bolts. It's more about, you know, trash removal, cleaning up the streets, crime, you know, those kind of issues. And so it's going to be the candidate who can best communicate to voters that they can run city government in an efficient manner.
And now, this was a close one for Cromer and Bruce Clement. So Clement just missed that runoff by less than 100 votes. So obviously voter turnout was not extremely high in this race as well, but you know, less than 100 votes is very close.
It is close. It goes to show you that every vote does count. And so when people say my vote doesn't count, we've seen in some races that are very close, and even some that are even closer than that people's votes do count. And so you know, you always want to convince people, get out there and vote, because maybe your one vote doesn't make that difference, but obviously, collectively, your votes matter.
And now for voters, as they look to, again, make another decision coming up, what are some of the things that you think they'll be focused on? I know you said there are some key, when it's a mayoral race, there are some standard issues that people tend to give attention to.
Quality of life issues, obviously, particularly with the Slidell race, with the mayor race. Quality of life, that's the main concern of voters. They're not thinking about ideology. You know, it's not about party, it's not about ideology, it's about quality of life issues. And so they want to know which candidate is going to be able to provide the best quality of life for their community.
All right, Dr. Ed Chervenak, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.